It's my great pleasure to be a moderator for this session with wonderful speakers. In this session, we are going to talk about shipping and ports in the age of AI. Ports are evolving from simple stopovers to smart, high-tech platforms that drive global trade. With the development of AI, automation, and digital tools, smart ports are becoming increasingly important in the global maritime industry to enhance the efficiency, sustainability, and security of port operations. Against the backdrop, let's start by posing a question to you, Anna. Given the current technological development at ports, what kind of partnerships are most important to help ports in emerging economies accelerate their digital transformation?
Thank you so much for that question. It's really interesting because there's a huge diversity of the kind of ports that we find at a global level. There's a tremendous difference between Port of Rotterdam versus Tema Port in Ghana, for example, or many other port cities around the world. So really bridging these differences and diverse approaches is going to be huge. I think one thing that we see particularly is many ports in emerging markets are still, they're barely digitized, right? That's largely relying on paper trails, so even things like electronic bills of lading and the like are not really fully adopted yet. So this presents, of course, a huge challenge. But I think one thing that we at the Global Maritime Forum see as an opportunity is thinking about this digital transformation in the context of the green transition as well. So there's an opportunity to combine the two and think about what are the needs of, in the context of the green transition, what are the sorts of partnerships that are emerging in the green transition, and can those be leveraged to also transform ports into data-rich platforms, if you will. And we see that already playing out in some contexts. So many green corridor projects, these are these route-based collaborations between different stakeholders in the maritime value chain, are combining green and digital approaches. Now, this is at present primarily happening between ports in well-developed regions. So one example is a Rotterdam to Singapore green and digital corridor. But I think that that is just the first step, and we will see much more of these types of partnerships forming between ports and countries of all sort of scales of the development range, if you will. And I certainly hope that partnerships like this can be an opportunity to bring digital solutions to ports all over the world, in fact, and make them more efficient and modernize and adapt to the sort of the future needs of the customers, the shipping companies, et cetera, and make the logistics more efficient.
Thank you. The partnership can be very important to make port digitalization. And as an emerging market, Sushil, how far are ports in India to become fully digital paperless gateways? What milestones have been achieved?
Thank you. So, as mentioned by the previous speaker, India is also making effort to move on to the digital platform and create smart port ecosystem here. The idea is to bring down the cost of logistics in the country and also improve ease of doing business and cost of doing business in the country. And as we all know, the digital tools, the AI, IoT, machine learning, smart sensors, so all these technologies provide a platform which can be used to create a smart ecosystem. And India is doing rightly the same thing. Just to share, the government of India has taken an initiative where a single window for the maritime sector, the National Logistics Portal Marine, has been launched, and all the stakeholders have been onboarded. Most of the stakeholders have been onboarded, and the transactions have started taking place on that platform. So that is a big achievement and a big milestone that has been achieved in the recent past. The business processes are now being taking place on that platform. The transactions are, the billing and transactions are also taking place on the platform. The regulatory bodies and the partner government agencies are also have been onboarded. And this National Logistics Portal Marine, it has a feature where the standalone softwares can be latched onto this platform, and the logistics service providers who have their own algorithms or the softwares which they are using, they can also integrate on this so-called central platform through API. And as we see ahead, this platform will provide a good tool for the informed decision making, because it has a dashboard also, so you can see the trends also. And using this tool, we are also trying to improve our outreach and onboard some of the other countries also, so that virtual trade corridor kind of a thing can be implemented. So this is what we have been doing.
Then we've heard about India's paperless trade practice. Then now let's turn to Dubai. Mohammed, DP World leads the digital transformation for the trade and logistics sector in Dubai, and this comes with Dubai Trade, the main platform for the trade in the UAE. How are these platforms transforming for the future?
I think it's really great to see the major advancement in India on adopting such digital platforms, speaking about the single trade and logistic platforms. And we have been hearing about it in the last 2 years, and a major integration requirements happening to move from a country single window to a regional global single window between Dubai and between India and so on. Our industry, as I was talking with my colleagues before the session, is really complex. If we speak about the trade ecosystem, here we mean a very complicated ecosystem compared to another industries or other industries like airlines or hospitality or fintech and so on. There is a say and there is a fact that our industry is lagging behind compared to other industries, and this is true. But in the last 5 to 10 years, there has been a major advancements and move due to the need to make the logistic more efficient, move cargo, sustain nations, which really arose after COVID, and the importance of supply chain resilience. On digital platforms specifically, building a maritime single window, which is defined by the IMO, is one thing. And there is another definition under the World Customs Organization to build a single window for the custom. And this is another thing. But what is the most optimal one, which is under the UNCTAD, the United Nations, is the trade and logistics single window, which includes the whole ecosystem, starting from the traders themselves, who owns the cargo, who wants to import, export, and re-export, going to the multimodal operator, speaking about the air side operator, the seaside operators, and the land side, rails or trucks and so on. Then going to border controls, which are the customs, then going to other regulatory authorities which give NOCs and interfere in the process of the supply chain, and finally to the payments and the logistic enablement through the deliveries, truck bookings and so on. It's a very long processes that we were successful to achieve it in Dubai through a state-of-art platform called Dubai Trade, which runs the whole non-oil foreign trade in Dubai, speaking about 2 trillion dirham, which is around 400 to 500 billion US dollar, moving through this platform, having all those stakeholders transacting. The question that we were asking in Dubai, can we have an Amazon.com experience or a Booking.com experience for moving cargo? And 5 years back, that was impossible. We made it. We summarized the steps. We cut down many steps. Speaking today about 180,000 customers transacting 24/7, 62 million transactions per year, and all the stakeholders are on that digital platform. we didn't stop there. We are expanding it globally. We started in Dominican Republic. We are working with our colleagues here in India, either through our port operations or rail operations or their single window, which is, I think, an important initiative speaking about the entity that leads MAITRI, I think. So we are working with them to integrate, to expand the moving of cargo, moving of goods to ease the process, the customer experience for the traders from country to country.
It's very interesting to learn about the trade and logistics with the digital transformation. And Ganga, you are the founder of the company working on digital transformation for maritime logistics and supply chain industry. Then how can port collaborate with shipping lines, logistics and partners or tech companies to build smarter digital ecosystems?
Thank you, Dawn. I think, let me give you some examples of how the Indian government has been very proactive in taking these digital transformation initiatives. Today, there are three types of modes of logistics or supply chain that happen. One is on the maritime, the other is by rail, and the other is by road. Now, one of the biggest initiatives, again, like Mr. Sushil said, NLP, the single window, even for marine, that's the NLP Marine, NLP Natural Logistics Platform, and now they're trying to make it a unified logistics platform, ULIP, is a single window that's going to be completely transforming where you can track your good all the way from a port to an end consumer in your house. And I think that's been the goal. Now, other than that, how do you transform each step? If you look at Container Corporation of India, which handles most of the containers for inland by road or rail, they've been very aggressive in digital transformation that a consumer or a person who orders a good on their container, they get real-time information of where that good is sitting in which container, in which location at real time. So for that, there's a lot of technology that goes behind it to transform it to that level. Now you're talking only at the container. Now, once the customs debond that, you also have the Central Warehousing Corporation where the food displacement, within India, FCI is putting where what food is. They've gone into a digital transformation to know where which good is sitting or which food product is sitting for how long at real time. So this takes heavy smart IoTs, take heavy digitalization to get to where they want to. And all this, like even Mr. Sushil said or Mohammed said, that it's all possible because the goal, if what you're trying to do is bring down the cost of logistics using technology, and the only way that's going to happen is if you increase efficiency with the same CapEx that's sitting over there right now.
Thank you. Because we have a great experts in digital technology in the maritime sector, I would like to question to Ganga and Mohammed that what are the most promising AI applications that you see transforming port operations in the next 5 years?
Should I start?
Yeah, you can start, Mohammed, please. Yeah.
I think, first of all, why AI is, especially in our region, I don't know how is it here in India, people started to talk a lot about it in the last 2 years. So as we know, AI is there since 30, 40 years, speaking from the basic things, the robotics arms and so on, going to the robots, to the automated warehouses, automated factories. It has been there, but due to the latest move to the community software, speaking about the generative AIs and so on, which touched our daily life, not only the industrial areas, people started talking about it, corporates starting building strategies around it, and countries also started to do so. As per the WTO, I think AI is to boost the global trade by 42% by 2050. There will be almost a 12 to 13% of GDP growth in various sectors and industries because of AI in the coming 10 to 15 years. So the question is, for our industry to gain part of that winning and growth, is how to start now and how to have a real life examples that has a real value for the businesses, governments, societies, and our industry as a supply chain, logistic, and maritime. We have been, if we speak about DP World globally as a global logistic enabler, trying to implement AI in different sites of our operations and back offices and so on. And we have done, starting from Southampton, predictive scheduling system in London, to an automated yard management in Jebel Ali, to implementing different IoTs supported by AI planning in Cochin, Mundra, and so on. In addition to that, we really value that building the national talents is really the key to lead the nations and to spearhead the AI development and implementation, where we opened different centers to adapt and to recruit the AI experts, the university graduates in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and different areas of the country. So we are implementing a lot of platform solutions supported by AI, ranging from trackings, operational aspects, back offices, and so on. And one platform to mention is something called Cargo Waves, which operates almost 25,000 trips a day of trucks, planning the trips of those trucks, deliveries, scheduling them. And this is what we implemented in Jebel Ali, and we are expanding it now to India and other sites of the world. So AI is promising. Our industry is changing. The base for AI is collection of data. We started having a very promising data collection points, which was never before in our industry. So this will be a great feed to the AI engines, AI bots, AI softwares that we will be built on top of that. So I think the future is bright for our industry in terms of AI adoption.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, and just to add what Mohammed said, majorly, it became cheap to use AI now. Just to give you some numbers to give you in perspective, as of 2024, you expect, because most of the trade is happening in shipping, 80% of the global trade is happening in shipping, you would see a lot of automated terminals, a lot of technology being utilized. But just to give you again a firm number, 4.5% of the global ports are automated. It's so expensive to do that, but with AI now and the newest technology that came in, it became affordable for people able to take high-end technology and apply it towards even smaller or medium-scale ports. So if you see the adoption using AI in automating or using a lot of smart IoT today, they're expecting year on year 28 to 36% growth in this type of technology is being utilized. Now, like Mohammed said, all this means is you're getting more data. You know, one of the biggest saying, they said oil was the big wealth before, and now data is the new wealth. So what can we do with this data? Today, if you see also, even from a cybersecurity, and that we spoke about it before, everyone is holding ransom on data. Yeah, I think so. Just to end that off, it's beautiful how AI is working. I know most of you use ChatGPT or some sort of Gen AI. Pretty soon, I think it's becoming a norm for us to be able to do that.
Thank you. As Ganga and Mohammed explained, that there are a lot of great opportunities in AI applications. However, there can be some challenges in the digital transformation, such as a cyber risk. So, Kanga, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing ports as they move toward in the age of AI?
Biggest risk and challenges. I think one, we spoke about it previously about regulations and data transfer. There are a lot of initiatives that happened that try to do cross-border, especially trade lanes. So the risks that are happening with more and more digitization, there are the pros and cons of AI. See, one side, we're all talking about how AI is helping speed things quicker. The other side that a lot of us are not talking about is what's AI being used wrongly. The amount of cyber threats, the amount of ports they're shutting down saying, listen, you give us money, then only we'll give you back your systems. Or even look at it, a lot of ships and vessels are being hacked into and they're stopping them dead. So there is a lot of regulation that's needed in how AI can be utilized or not. And without these safety mechanisms that are built in for AI can be used for the wrong, which is what, again, keep on going back. There's the pros and there's the cons of everything. And these are the cons. Unfortunately, it's not heavily talked about. Yeah.
Thank you. For the following question about the challenges, I would like to ask Mohammed whether there is any practice relating to cyber security issues, because you mentioned that data collection became very key, but there is always a risk or that this kind of digitalization rely on the technology can be vulnerable from the cyber threats.
See, cyber security, I think it's answering the question that was asked to my colleague also. It's a very important aspect in AI and in the normal digital world and in any process that we do. But the dilemma is always how tight we should implement those cyber security solutions, which will really hinder the expansion, hinder the business. And there is another dilemma is once a cyber attack happens, the cyber security team starts saying, whatever you do, whatever tool you implement, you will still be attacked. So there is always a question, where is the break-even point between having the right defense and at the same time having a business agility and expansions and so on. So it's very important. It's something that every organization, government has to look to. We have seen in the last 2 months, a huge organization that has been attacked, and it's a media news. It's nothing hidden. You heard about JLR, where a major player is stopping the operation for at least 3 to 4 months. And this shows how important is cybersecurity. Were they not implementing cybersecurity solutions, defense layer and so on? No, they were having, but you will still be attacked. So with AI, the vulnerability is increasing. The channels open for the attackers are increasing. So we need more investments also on the cyber side to make sure that there is an equilibrium between the investment in AI and digitalization and the matching level, a balanced level of investment in cybersecurity. So that's my view on how important is cybersecurity in the businesses and in the corporates.
Thank you.
Can I add a perspective which I think is easy to get missed in this context? At the moment, we're talking, I suspect, primarily about the ports, logistics, and the sort of of a particular part of the global logistics chain, which is a containerized logistics. In fact, when you talk about the 85% of global trade, the vast majority is actually not containerized. It's bulk shipping. It's oil and gas, various products, liquid products, it's grain, it's cocoa, it's things like that. A lot of that gets shipped out of ports all over the world, including small, medium-sized ports all over the developed world. And these operations are so much less sophisticated than what we see on the containerized side of things. This also goes for the shipping companies that are engaging in the shipping of these goods. So whereas container shipping is highly concentrated in basically more or less a handful of very, very big, very sophisticated players who, even with the best of tools, are at risk of cyber attacks and the like. Imagine the rest of the industry, which is highly, highly fragmented with many, many small players with a few vessels each that don't have the sophistication neither to apply the tools nor to defend against the risks. So I think it would be useful to distinguish between the two and recognize that there's an enormous portion of global trade that is barely digitized at all in many ways, right? And if it is, it's really only at the margins. And it's worth it to think about how can we bring the kinds of tools to that part of the global trade ecosystem as well, as it affects so many goods and where the same benefits could be reaped in terms of the lowering the cost of trade. I'd be curious to hear what other panelists, if you have experiences in that sector, in those sectors. Yeah.
I mean, just to give it perspective, there is a lot of regulation that's coming in, which is also standards that are coming in, especially for the smaller fragmented units, because the large-scale shippers or operators, they have the money to spend, like you just did. So it's about the smaller guys and the SMEs that we call. How do you support them, and how do you standardize certain aspects from operations to how they should load their vessel, unload their vessel, what type of regulation they should follow. And if you look at it in the most recent past, even IMO is focusing a lot on building that regulation, number one. Number two, for the smaller SMEs that we're talking about, there's also an ISO protocol coming in now to mandate a lot of these safety, security, cyber regulations on operations and standardization to help these SMEs. See, these guys, for example, I work with an association, I sit on the Executive Council of TIC 4.0, Terminal Industry Committee, which DP World is a big member. And we are putting the standard flow where any small person, it's free for them to use, download, and utilize it for their own. Because otherwise, if we are not able to people to think, you're right, if the flow from the point A to point B, there are 16 to 20 or innumerable number of people that the trade is moving through. It can be a small transshipment port in the French Reunion Islands to a Dominican small west end port where you're literally dumping stuff, right? Or if you look at the even landlocked countries like Swaziland that use Transnet to take out a lot of natural bulk goods. How do you make sure that your stuff is going secure and it's following a process and you know where it's sitting? So these flows are coming out. I think it's a lot of, since COVID, since 2020, this focus has come about. It's not just the large operators, but a unified, global, decentralized, bringing everyone together in a standard format. So there is a approach saying, I don't know how much it's being adapted by people, but there is a activity towards that.
I'll add another aspect to this. Apart from the trade flows, we all know that there is a push towards decarbonizations. Now the regulatory requirements and the restrictions that will come in place, the measurement and the reduction parameters and the greenhouse gas emissions, the carbon reduction, the baseline, evaluation. So this will only be possible if we have these tools involving AI, data analytics, your sensor-based systems and softwares. So without this platform, we'll not be able to even establish our the savings that the shipping lines will be getting, once they modify their systems or once they start switching over or migrating to the cleaner fuels, to low carbon fuels, to zero carbon fuels. So this will be an essential requirement for the decarbonization legislation or regulation, which is likely to come in place very soon, like net zero framework, which for the now has been deferred by a year, but it will come soon. And then this will be an essential platform which will be required. So with all its risks and anticipated problems that we may have with this, with the adoption of this tool, we'll have to find out ways to create a sturdy system which can help us in navigating through these tough times.
Then, Sushil, I have the additional question that Ganga mentioned that AI will not replace the human, but the shift to digital and AI systems often raises concern about workforce displacement. So how should ports upskill their workforce in the age of AI? And especially India is the labor supply state, and the huge number of seafarers may need to ready for this kind of new era of the AI. So what do you think about it?
So here in India, we are adopting a landlord model of port operation. So as you know, the basic core infrastructure is created and developed by the government, and then it is offered to the private concessionaires, the industry partners, to run it. So the idea is to leverage the technologies and the skills that are available in the market with the industry players, so that they come in with their own technologies and improve the operational efficiency, bring down the cost, and create a situation which is a win-win kind of a thing for both the cargo owners, the shippers, the customers. So I see it the other way around, because the more of AI, the more of software platforms or the digital platforms that we introduce into our systems, there will be an increased requirement of engineers, innovators, technology developers, programmers, system integrators. So, and in business as usual scenario, it has been projected that by 2050, the EXIM trade, the export-import, the global trade through a deep sea route is likely to increase by almost 145%. So there'll be huge increase in the volumes, increase in the number of vessels calling at the ports. The complete ecosystem will be full of activities, and we will need such systems to cope up with the increase in the volumes and increase in the activities that are going to come up at the ports. So it will automatically drive the system, and we'll be forced to get our manpower skilled who are capable of handling such systems. So this is in fact an opportunity for the manpower to move out to the higher value levels of the whole supply chain. So and with the kind of the infrastructure that we have here for providing training, for skilling, for education and vocational trainings. So with that kind of infrastructure, I'm sure that we'll be able to cope up with the requirements of the manpower, scaling of the manpower.
Thank you. I would like to final question to you, Anna, that you mentioned that fragmentation of different types of vessels, but I was thinking that while Ganga gave some observation about these kinds of things in the context of AI, I was also thinking about the development of the autonomous vessels. And there is a huge push to move to the autonomous vessels. Of course, they may have a different degrees, whether they have the limited role of human on board or without human at all. But I think this kind of the development autonomous vessel may be a motivation to standardize the different types of vessels. So in this context, what policy frameworks or international standards are needed to ensure these ports in the age of AI?
This is such a difficult question. I don't even know where to begin. And especially in the context of autonomous shipping. So I think that, there's been discussions around autonomous shipping for as long as I've been part of the sector, and that's coming up on, I don't know, 13, 14 years or something like that. And the developments are relatively, I don't know, slow moving is maybe not the right word, but the deployment is still very, very limited. I think what we will see more is perhaps what some of my fellow panelists have been talking about, which is more sort of semi-autonomous, right? Some autonomy assisted or maybe human assisted autonomy. I don't know exactly what to call it, but it's sitting at an interface between autonomous and human led. And I think this is really I see that as an opportunity to, and you made such an important point that it's actually an opportunity for upskilling in the sector and for really changing the view around what are the kinds of jobs and roles that might be available in this sector, and for it to really, rather than just be a job displacement, it can be a job advancement and making for better, fairer, better paying jobs in the future, right? And this is also interesting in the context of the point that you, Mohammed, made earlier. And I'll give you away a little bit. In the green room, just before we came out on stage, you said, this is such a boring sector. And while I vehemently disagree, I think it's a wonderful sector, one that's super, super exciting. There's so much going on, so many developments. I take your point that I think there is a common perception that that shipping and logistics, seaborne trade is maybe not that exciting. But with these developments, I think there's an opportunity for it to, with the developments around technology adoption and energy transition, there's an opportunity for this sector to actually change in the public view and to really become one that is much more exciting to join and which will be able to attract all the talents of the future that we might need. So I'm totally not answering your question. I understand that. I hope that can be supported by international policy. I think to be totally frank, I don't know much about what would be needed at the IMO. But what I do think is interesting is that India at a national level has taken a really long view on both the digital and the green transformation of the sector and is investing into all aspects of that. That goes from soft to hard infrastructure, from skills development to interconnectivity, and all these different aspects of what it will take for this sector to change over time, and adapting it also to the growing ambitions of India's economy. So really, for national governments to take a long view, to really think about where they see their economy and their interlinkage with global trade moving over a perspective of multiple decades, and making sure to adapt ports, infrastructure, the sector, the tools that are needed around shipping and logistics to that long-term view, not just to the near-term needs. And I have to say, India is really a case in point, and it's hugely admirable that this vision has been articulated so clearly and that it's being followed up with investments, incentives, and the like.
Thank you. We are approaching the final minutes of our session. So let's take a few questions from the audience. So if you have any questions, could you please come to the mic to ask your question?
Hi, thank you so much for this wonderful discussion. I just this is a general question for the panel. We are increasingly trying to integrate systems in order to optimize operational technology. But like Mr. Gude has mentioned now and in a previous session, that ISO is in the process of being published. There's no general protocol or dealing with cyber risks and attacks to ports that have increased in frequency in the past couple of years. And without the existence of a mitigation protocol and data sharing regulation in place, do you think that pushing for this integration, especially as AI companies, and providing these tech stacks is a good idea, especially since we're lagging behind in this regulatory process being in place? And what are you as tech stack providers doing to encourage ports to move towards automation despite these increasing risks?
Yeah, just to give you a perspective, there are actually associations that are already pushing standardization, like DCSA, TIC 4.0. It's not mandated till a policy comes in or a regulation comes in. But is there a framework that's already there? It is there. It makes the life of an operator much easier if they take the framework in. Now, integration doesn't have to do anything with cybersecurity or risk. Integration is for ease of doing business, ease of operating. So that is going to go on even if I decide to sit in Antarctica and someone else tries to sit in the Arctic Circle, right? You have to do that to be able to communicate with each other. But there are frameworks available, there are standards available. It's basically now, is it policy, is it regulated, is it mandated? And today, now that the way of the data moving so much, now the regulations are coming in saying, okay, this is a policy. This is going to be a mandate on how you need to do it. And as a tech company, we are part of all these associations and driving a lot of the data standards. And that's how we actually make sure, okay, this is the best way to do it, or this is the right way to do it. Otherwise, as a data company tomorrow, if the standard is defined and my tech stack is completely different, I'm going to have to shut down tomorrow to be more practical. So if you have to be on top of a lot of these things for you to be able to implement this in the solutions you're trying to provide. Hope that answers your questions.
As a moderator, if I can just take on 1 minute, I'm a lawyer working on the regulation of the IMO, and IMO has adopted the revised guidelines on cyber risk management this year. And of course, it is more broadly covers shipping issues and the shipping and port interfaces, but the IMO has recognized the growing interest of the cyber risk in the shipping and port states. And I believe that even though this is guidelines, but still with the technological development and shipping industry, we can move forward for the secure shipping and port operations. Thank you. And can we take another question from the gentleman?
Yes. So myself, Sahil Jadhav from Department of Civics and Politics. Currently, I am looking after public policy segment. So my question is to Sanjay Kaul, sir. So, sir, at the current rate of advancement of artificial intelligence, can we expect that in the upcoming 5 years, by 2030, the amount of the automation and robotic penetration in unloading the vessel till stacking, what can be the amount of penetration that we can accept in the robotic penetration when we consider the smart ports as one of our missions?
So the question is that what is the extent of automation that is likely to come in by 2030
Yes.
for vessel
And
unloading?
One more added question to that. Is government pushing for automation?
Yes, government is pushing for improving the KPIs. When we say KPIs, it is key performance indicators, and the whole objective is to improve the vessel turnaround, to improve the truck fleet turnaround, to reduce the waiting time of the vessels at the anchorage, to reduce the idling time at the berth. So the idea is to extract maximum possible productivity from the infrastructure that we have at our ports today. Now that is only possible if we mechanize the whole system of cargo handling. We have conveyors, we have belts, we have cranes, and we have autonomous fleets which can take the containers. For example, for the containers, they can take the containers from the wharf to the stacking yards. We have I saw that day in Dubai, in Jebel Ali, they have a box bay kind of a new concept that has come in, where the containers are stacked in the vertical rack kind of a thing, which reduces the number of movements for this taking out a container or putting in a container at a particular location. So there are a lot of innovative concepts which are being implemented, and the idea there is to improve the productivity. And the technologies are available. We only have to see as to where these technologies can be used, the use case of those technologies and concepts in vessel handling and cargo loading, unloading. So I see that there will be big induction, kind of induction. At our ports, there will be the new ports which are coming up in India also. Like we have a DP World terminal coming up at Tuna Tekra in Gujarat. Recently, a Vadhavan port has been cleared by the cabinet, and the process has started. So these are the ports which will be having state-of-the-art technologies, and they'll be only for like Tuas Port, Singapore. It's fully automated port. So that is the level that all other ports, as far as container port is concerned, should target. For the bulk, break bulk, you have bagged consignment, you have timbers, you have salt, you have coal. So you have different systems. For example, at Kandla Port, at Deen Dayal Port in Gujarat, we have tied up with the Tuterus, IIT Madras-based startup, which is working on this magnetic levitation-based pods. Similarly, DP World has a MagRail system, which is their proprietary technology of a company called Nevomo. So we are also trying to talk to them and have a system there, a pilot project at Kandla. So these are different new technology projects which are being tried out at different ports to test and make a use case of these technologies to improve productivity of our ports.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. We will take last question from the lady.
Greetings, everyone. So my question to the panel is that how does new port initiatives and the projects assure the security and reliability of the data of the countries that are part of those allied projects?
I can take this question. I think today, as my colleague said, sharing data is a must. As we talk together now, you are asking question, we are answering. System should talk together also, and we should share data between them to make sure that we will go and take the industry to the next level. Otherwise, we will still operate in isolation and so on. The India team came to Dubai 2 years back, saying that there is a huge foreign non-oil trade movement of cargo movement between the Indian ports to Jebel Ali, and from Jebel Ali in Dubai to Indian ports. But traders are still operating in a very standalone approach. They clear Indian cargo in India, then they come to Dubai with another complicated process to clear the Dubai cargo. Why don't we integrate together? Why don't we share the data so we make the cargo flow better, traders' journey easier, which will automatically double the export and import between both countries, cities, and so on. So it is a must, but every country has its own regulations. Speaking here about the concept that every hub is trying to be the regional logistic hub, regional trade hub. So there are some rules and regulations to secure the data, some agreement that will be signed, which is similar to any other integration or agreements or discussion between country to country. So keeping the data safe and secure that is related to that country is important. But what is more important now is to enable those integrations to go from local single window to regional and global single window to move the cargo and sustain the trade. I hope I answered you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have discussed how ports can adapt to the future in the age of AI, and we discussed several challenges, but I also believe that there can be opportunities as well. I want to thank all of our wonderful speakers for sharing their excellent expertise and great knowledge. And thank you, audience, for joining us today. Thank you.